So I love this article in the Wall Street Journal entitled More Say Colleges Aren't Worth the Cost. A majority of Americans don't think a college degree is worth the cost, according to a new Wall Street Journal slash NORC poll, a new low in confidence in what has long been a hallmark of the American dream. So I know this might seem like it's a little off topic for me to be talking about this, but I wanted to jump on here because, for one thing, I've been saying this for quite a while that I truly believe college is going by the wayside. And that by the time our kids have kids, it's just not even going to be a thing. I mean, it'll be a thing, but it won't be the norm or expected or anything. I mean, obviously, I could be totally wrong, but that's what I that's what I think. And so it was really heartening to see this article only because, when you look at the number of people who are getting this, who are seeing this themselves, even though you don't hear about it in the media, it's huge. And, there's no question that the number one reason is that, as it shows here, it's not worth the cost because people have a better chance to get a good job and earn more income over their lifetime. And it's not worth the cost because people are often graduating without specific job skills with a large amount of debt to pay off, which I think is the bigger issue. Again, something I've always been saying is, you don't go to college and just get a degree in anything. It has to be something useful that you're going to get your money back on, as opposed to just, a degree that you don't know what you're going to do with. And so that's number one. And then paying and going into debt for that degree that you can't do anything with necessarily was like mistake number two. And it's almost like people are just now realizing the extent of it because they're out in the world. We have inflation. Um, um, we had the pandemic, obviously. We have all these things that are making us look at things differently. And the idea, and also we've got all these other means now to get educated and to get skilled at something outside of college. So I think it's great. I mean, I think it's inevitable. So it doesn't really matter whether I think it's great or not. I just think it's inevitable. But there was something specific in here that I thought was really interesting that I know you're never going to hear anybody talk about, which is why I wanted to say this. It showed, let's see, in 2017, doubt over the value of a college degree was greatest among men, as well as Republicans and people living in rural areas. That dissatisfaction preceded a widening gender gap in higher education as hundreds of thousands of men left college during the pandemic. But the journal poll found that it has spread to all age groups as well as residents of cities and suburbs. So people are really, it's not just about men at all. And then at the end, it said confidence among women fell to 44% from 54%, according to the poll, which I thought was really fascinating because we know that women are getting far more degrees, right? And we know that they're excelling in areas where men are not. And that is hailed as, the greatest thing since sliced bread. And no one's really concerned about the men and what that's doing to them, so on and so forth. But if women's confidence is falling, it's certainly mainly because of the money issue that we were talking about, that they're getting these degrees and they have all this debt and they're not making enough in whatever careers they're choosing to offset the debt that they've gone into. Unquestionably, that is a male female across the board issue, the main issue. But I also got to thinking that a second piece of that, which, like I said, you won't hear anything about, is that women are realizing that they're going into debt for these careers that they're planning for and assuming will be the focus of their lives, only to find out that not only do their feelings about what they want to do change career-wise, but I won't say almost all, the vast majority of them end up cutting back anyway. Anyway, once they have children. So, and then if and when they do go back, and most do, they don't necessarily end up in the same field. So there's a point at which you have to stop and say, did I plan this wrong? When I'm looking at my life long term, What do I want it to look like? What will fit in best with those long range plans rather than just assuming that what you are wanting and thinking about at 22, 20, 21, 22 is going to be exactly what you're going to feel 10 years down the road. So if you're going into debt over a degree that you're never going to end up using because you're going to step out and family's going to become really important to you, you're going to regret that and you're still going to be paying off bills from having done that. So I'm just pointing out that was really interesting in this article. It was kind of buried at the bottom where it says confidence among women fell to 44 from 54. And I think that's really interesting. Yes, money related, but also this other piece of the equation that nobody wants to talk about, which is that women opt out. They pull back. They don't necessarily quit altogether, but they're not all in the way that the average married man's going to be. So invariably, they're ending up paying for a degree that they're not using. And imagine how that must feel as they're going through their budgeting on a daily, a monthly basis. I could see that being extremely frustrating and probably having something to do with those numbers. So yeah, just thought that was really interesting. I know that I've never talked about college, I don't think, directly before, but when I saw this article, I just wanted to do a little short thing on it because I do feel really strongly about college and where it's headed. And the answer is basically to only get degrees that are useful and that are not going to break the bank and go into debt, and that where you're going to go into debt over it. At least not in a way that's not commensurate with what you're going to get on a salary when you're done. And then also be thinking long term, if you're a woman, about how you're going to use that. Um, so that you can find something that's flexible and you can move in and out of more easily. And I just think there's going to be more and more ways to do that for women in particular, um, as the years go on, because colleges have become ridiculously expensive just to be indoctrinated. Really is what it comes down to, because you can get that information somewhere else that you're going to get on a college campus in your books. And then, I mean, you end up spending half your time on the computer anyway, doing stuff you could do on your own. The difference in our day was supposed to be the camaraderie and the healthy debate that used to exist. That was part of your education, but it is no longer there. You toe the line or you're not welcome. So there is absolutely no diversity of any kind, intellectual diversity on college campuses. Therefore, there's really no reason to be there. That's kind of my argument. Unless, of course, you're going to be a doctor, a teacher, you're going into a specific business, something that's not liberal arts. I guess that's a good way of putting it. Engineering, of course, is great. Just something that's useful. Obviously, you're going to need, in many cases, a degree for that. But I just think the whole thing is going to really change big time over the coming 10 years. And maybe I'm wrong, but I thought um, this study that I saw was very interesting, and I just wanted to jump on here and say that. And that's all I got for you today. See you next time.